Ibadan, opposition leaders spoke with one voice. They made a bold promise to unite against the ruling APC in 2027. But within few hours, crack began to show. Reaction, accusation, and fresh ambition. Is it the birth of a new coalition or another political illusion? At the heart of that meeting, where all major political opposition leaders gathered, was a bold reaffirming promise to field one presidential candidate in 2027 against President Bola Tinubu and the ruling party. But within days, reaction began to shift. Some parties rejected the outcome, others distanced themselves entirely from the process. And a new political question now emerged, including claims that Governor Seyi Makinde may be positioning himself for a vice presidential slot. So, what really happened in Ibadan? And what does it mean for the future of the opposition landscape in Nigerian politics? Tonight, we examine the Ibadan Declaration, a high-profile gathering of opposition leaders that have stirred political hope and doubt across the country. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's political update on Trumpet TV. I am your host, Oba Siva. On April 25, 2026, key opposition figures gathered in Ibadan, Oyo State, for what organizers describe as a national summit to chart a new political direction ahead of 2027. Among those present were former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi, former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi, and the host, Governor Seyi Makinde. At the end of the meeting, a communique was issued. Its central message was very clear: to unite the opposition and work towards presenting a single presidential candidate for the 2027 general election. Other resolutions included a commitment to resist any attempt to turn Nigeria into a one-party state, a call for reform of the Electoral Act 2026, and a strong expression of no confidence in the current leadership of the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC. Well, on paper, this was a defining moment. For the first time since the 2023 election, major opposition figures appear ready to set aside differences and speak with one voice. But in Nigeria, politics rarely move in a straight line. Almost immediately after the summit, dissenting voices began to surface. Several parties and factions rejected the declaration outrightly. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) leadership that are aligned with Nyesom Wike dismissed the summit, describing its organizer as lacking legitimacy. According to that faction, the PDP had not entered into any coalition and would field its own candidate in 2027. The Labour Party also kept its distance. Its interim leadership made it clear that it will focus on remaining internal restructuring, not coalition politics. Then came reaction from the African Democratic Congress, the ADC. Not one, but multiple factions denied involvement in the summit. Some insist that the party would field its own candidate independently. Even the new Nigeria People Party, NNPP, issued a statement distancing itself, warning against what it described as misrepresentation. So, just within 48 hours, the image of unity began to fade away. What was presented as a coalition of parties began to look more like a gathering of individuals. That distinction mattered. In Nigeria politics, individuals can agree, but party must follow structure, leadership, and legal authority. And in this case, many parties say they were not officially represented. Beyond the disagreement, another major issue have drawn attention. Governor Seyi Makinde, who hosted the summit, is now at the center of a quiet but growing speculation. Is he positioning himself for a vice presidential role? So political observer asks, point to several signals. His role as the chief host of the national opposition gathering raised some of these questions. His increasing visibility among key presidential contenders, his effort to present himself as a bridge between factions. Well, while there is no official declaration, the conversation has begun. In coalition politics, hosting can be more than just symbolic. It can signify influence, negotiation power, and future alignment. If a unified ticket eventually emerges, the vice president's slot will be critical. It must balance geography, religion, and political strength. And this, Makinde, a Christian, a city governor from the southwest, fits into that calculation perfectly. But ambition can also communicate and complicate unity. Many players are positioning for the same prize. Consensus became harder to achieve. The ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, have not remained silent in all of this. It dismissed the Ibadan meeting as lacking substance and described the opposition as divided and unprepared. The party also criticized remarks made during the summit, warning against any rhetoric that could inflame tension within the country. From the APC perspective, the opposition still faced the same problem it had in 2023, that is, fragmentation. Multiple party competing ambition and no clear structure for unity yet. That is the central challenge for this new coalition. Forming a coalition is one thing, but sustaining it is yet another. Nigeria's political history is filled with alliances that collapse under pressure. The question now is whether this attempt will be different. So, where does this leave the Ibadan Declaration? It has opened a new conversation about unity. It has brought key opposition figures into the same room for discussion. But it has also exposed deep division that remain unresolved. For now, what we have is not yet a coalition. It could be termed to be possibility. And in politics, possibility must pass the test of structure, discipline, and shared purpose. At this point, we must ask this question. Can the opposition move from words to action? Can ambition give way to strategy? And can unity survive the reality of Nigerian politics? These answers will shape the reality of the next election. Thank you very much for keeping a date with us on this week's political update on Trumpet TV. And until next week, I remain your host, Oba Silva. Good night.